Here is a peculiar, silent phantom that haunts the corridors of our modern success. It is not the fear of failure, as one might expect, but rather a far more insidious anxiety, the terror that our success is a mystic, a clerical error in the universe's grand ledger, waiting to be corrected. You sit in the meeting, you receive the accolades, you sign the contract, yet beneath the polished surface, a whisper persists if they only knew. 'Tis is the gnawing suspicion that you are merely playing a character, and that any moment the curtain will fall, revealing the trembling actor beneath. It is the exhaustion of holding up a mask that grows heavier with every promotion. Now, let us explore the profound wisdom found not in adding more, but in letting go. The experience we have come to label imposter syndrome is really a crisis of competence. It is almost always a crisis of person. We tend to view this anxiety as a personal defect, a glitch in our self-esteem that requires patching with more affirmations, more certifications, or more undeniable proof of our worth. But let us consider the possibility that the sensation of being an imposter is not a malfunction of the individual, but a natural reaction to a fundamental misunderstanding of what a career truly is. The anxiety arises because we have been conditioned to view our professional lives as a serious, linear pilgrimage toward a final destination of validity. We believe that somewhere in the future, there is a threshold we will cross where we will finally feel solid, substantial, and real. This is the great illusion of the destination mindset. The modern mind operates on a strictly linear timeline. We are taught from our earliest days in the schoolyard that life is a progression, first kindergarten, then graduation, then the junior role, the senior role, the partnership, and finally, the relevant. We view existence as a journey from point A to point B, and the purpose of the journey is not the traveling, but the arrival at point B. When we view life this way as a serious trek toward a future goal, we implicitly define the present moment as lacking. If the goal is but there, then here is merely a waiting room. Here is insufficient. When you apply this linear framework to your identity, you create the perfect breeding ground for the imposter. If you believe that you must become something as CEO, an expert, a success, then you are constantly living in a state of becoming, which is different from a state of being. To be becoming is to not yet be. Therefore, subconsciously, you feel incomplete. You feel like a ghost waiting to inherit a body. You look at your peers and they seem so substantial, so merged with the roles. They are the directors, they are the artists. But you are just you, frantically pulling levers behind the curtain, hoping the wise it looks convincing on the screen. The agony, then, comes from the gravity we assign to these roles. We take them with a deadly seriousness. We believe that the role we play in society is our essence. The word person comes from the Latin persona, which referred to the mask worn by actors in the Greco-Roman theater. It was a megaphone, a device through which the sound passed persona. The tragedy of the modern professional is that we have forgotten we are wearing masks. We have glued the mask to our face and now complain that it is suffocating us. When we feel like imposters, it is actually a moment of lucid sanity breaking through the delusion. It is the soul whispering, this role is not the whole of you. But instead of relief, we feel panic. We think, I am failing at being the mask, when in reality, we are simply realizing that we are the actor. Consider the energy required to maintain this illusion of solidity. When you treat your career as a test that you must pass to justify your existence, every meeting becomes a trial, and every project becomes a verdict. You are constantly on the stand, awaiting the judge's ruling. This is why the praise of us offers no lasting relief. When someone compliments your work, you deflect it or distrust it because you believe they are complimenting the mask, the deception. You think they are uploading the image I projected, but they don't see the chaotic mess inside. You assume that everyone else is internally organized and confident, while you are all improvising. This isolation is a byproduct of the serious man archetype. The serious man believes that the universe is a mechanical system and that his career is a structure he must build, brick by heavy brick. He believes that if he stops straining, the structure will collapse. He walks around with a furrowed brow, carrying the weight of his own importance. He cannot play because play is trivial and he is engaged in the momentous task of making something of himself. But here lies the paradox. The harder he tries to be summoned, the more eagerly he feels the hollowness of his own ego. He is trying to grasp water. The tighter he clenches his fist to hold onto his identity, the more it slips through his fingers. The imposter syndrome is essentially the fear of exposure. But what are we afraid of exposing? We are afraid of exposing the fact that we are fly-changing vulnerable processes rather than static stone status of competence. We look at the definition of a professional in our minds as stoic, all-knowing, unshakable monolith. When we look at our internal experience as whirling river of doubts, gusts, and instants, then we see a mismatch. We conclude, I am not that, therefore I am a fraud. But what if the definition of that is the error? What if the rigidity we are striving for is actually a form of death? We are trying to freeze the living, breathing sense of our intelligence into a rigid posture of expertise. We are trying to turn a verb into a noun. You are not a writer, you are writing. You are not a leader, you are leading. Nouns are static, verbs are alive. The imposter syndrome thrives in the world of nouns, where we judge ourselves against fixed idols. It withers in the world of verbs, where we are simply engaged in the action of the moment. The anxiety we feel is the friction between the fly reality of life and the rigid expectations of our core. We want to be a finished product in a world that never finishes. We are like a wave trying to compensate itself. It is a rock. The wave feels the movement, the crashing, the resting, and thinks, I am a terrible rock. I am unstable. I am moving. Everyone will see that I am not solid. The sufferings ought not come from the movement. It comes from the wish to be otherwise. As we stand in this ordinary world of struggle, looking at our cares through the lens of ants as of us, why is the destination so important? We defer our happiness to the moment of arrival. We climb the ladder, rung by rung, terrified of looking down, terrified of slipping, believing that the view from the top will finally grant us peace. But the ladder rests on nothing but our own concepts. We are climbing into the clouds of our own imagination, chasing a phantom of future completeness, all while missing the vibrant reality of the climb itself. The crushing weight you feel is not the difficulty of your job. It is the weight of time. It is the burden of carrying your past failures and your future expectations in the present moment. You are trying to solve the problem of your life, rather than living it. And as long as your career is a problem to be solved, you will feel like a fraud because life is not a problem, it is a mystery to be experienced. Section 2. If the linear, destination obsessed view of life is the source of our suffering, we must look for a different model of the universe average tree of existence. We have been hypnotized into believing that life is a journey, a pilgrimage, or a race. But if we look closely at the fundamental nature of reality, at biology, at physics, at the very movement of the stars, we discover the natures are not journey. Nature plays. Consider for a moment the nature of music. This is perhaps the most potent antidote to the poison of the destination mindset. When you listen to a symphony, you do not listen with the intent of reaching the final chart. If the purpose of the symphony were to get to the end, the best conductors would be the ones who play the fastest. We would have composers writing symphonies that consisted of a single, deafening crash, instantly resolving the tension and saving us all a great deal of time. But we do not attend a concert to hear the final, we attend to hear the music unfold. The joy is found in the interval, in the melody, in the rising and falling of the sound in the eternal now. The same is true of dance. When you go dancing, you do not aim to arrive at a specific spot on the floor. You do not dance to get from the left side of the room to the right side. The point of the dance is the dancing itself. It is the immediate engagement with the rhythm. The activity is its own purpose. Now, look at how we have designed our civilization. We have structured our education and our careers not as a dance, but as a desperate scramble to get to the end of the room. We tell the child, study hard in primary school so you can get into a good high school. 10. Work hard in high school to get into the university. Then, grind at the university to get the job. 10. Suffer in the job to get the promotion. And finally, save your money to reach retirement. We live our entire lives leaning forward, eyes fixed on a horizon that reaches as we approach it. We treat the present moment as a mere stepping stone, something to be used and discarded in favor. And then we wake up one day around 40 or 50, having arrived at the destination, and we feel a profound sense of cheating. We feel we have missed the point. As the old saying goes, we thought we were traveling to a destination, but it turned out the destination was the journey. This is the metaphysical soil in which imposter syndrome grows. An imposter is someone who is pretending to have arrived, or someone who is terrified that they are not traveling fast enough. But if you use career as a musical composition, the concept of an imposter becomes absurd. You cannot be an imposter in a sense. You can stumble, yes. You can miss a bit, certainly. But you are not a fraud, you are simply dancing. A musician who hits a wrong note is not a fake musician, they are a musician in the process of playing. The error is part of the flow, to be integrated into the next measure. When we shift a metaphor from war or journey to music or play, the texture of our NCD chants. The serious man is terrified of making a mistake because a mistake in the mechanical system causes a breakdown. It stops the machine. But a mistake in a jazz improvisation is merely a new opportunity. It is a sudden, unexpected turn in the melody. The master, the one we look up to and fear we can never be, is not the one who never makes mistakes. The master is the one who knows how to redrift the mistake and weave it into the logic of the song. They are not rigid, they are responsive. We suffer because we have confused seriousness with sincerity. We believe that to be professional, to be competent, we must be grim. We must carry the weight of the world. We look at the experts above us and assume they possess a heavy, stone-like certainty. But let us deconstruct this expert. Who are they? They are simply people who have been dancing longer. They have learned more steps. They have developed a better ear for the rhythm of the industry. But they are still improvising. They are still guessing. The CEO, the surgeon, the architect, at the cutting edge of their fields, they are encountering novel situations where the textbooks does not apply. They are making it up as they go along. The secret they will rarely tell you is that everyone is making it up. The universe itself is making it up. Evolution is a process of biological improvisation. Here was no blueprint for the human eye. Nature simply played with light sensitivity over millions of years, trying this, discarding that, dancing its way into complexity. If the universe does not need a rigid plan to create a galaxy, why do you need a rigid plan to create a tree? The feeling of being an imposter is actually a symptom of your own intelligence. It is your awareness that the map is not the territory. You look at the job description, the map, and it looks precise, authoritative, and complete. Then you look at your daily experience, the territory, and it is messy, human, and unpredictable. You think, I must be doing it wrong because my experience doesn't match the clean lines of the map. But the map is an abstraction. The map is dead. The territory is alive. Your messy, uncertain, grasping experience is the reality of the work. You are not failing to be a professional, you are experiencing the reality of the profession, which is that all work is human and all humans are fallible. When you bring this musical understanding into the meeting room, the fear of exposure begins to dissolve. You realize that you are not there to defend a fortress of knowledge. You are there to play your instrument in the ensemble. If you don't know the answer, you don't have to panic and pretend. You can simply say, I don't know, let's explore that. In the destination mindset, I don't know is a failure, a stoppage on the road. In the musical mindset, I don't know is a rest, a pause, a space for a new melody to enter. This brings us to the concept of play. We are terrified of this word in the professional context. We associate play with irresponsibility, with childishness. But look at a child playing. Are they lazy? On the contrary, a child building a tower of blocks or painting a picture is intensely concentrated. They are absorbed. They are sincere. But they are not serious in the psychological sense. They are not trembling with the fear that if the tower falls, the identity will be shattered. If the tower falls, the Lao can build again. This is the state of flow that psychologists speak of. It is the state of total immersion in the activity for its own sake. The imposter cannot enter the state of flow because the imposter is always watching themselves. They are split into one part is doing the work, and the other part is standing back criticizing, checking, asking, do I look like an expert? Am I doing this right? What will they think? This self-consciousness is the enemy of excellence. A Zenser who is looking at their own feet will trip. To Zen's well, you must fork yourself. You must become the dance. To help the agony of imposter syndrome, we must dare to adopt this playful attitude toward our own survival. This sounds dangerous. The mind objects, if I treat my career as a Zen's when I become careless. Won't I lose my job? But the paradox is that the person who plays is often far more effective than the person who worries. The warrior is rigid, risk-averse, and exhausted by the maintenance of their mask. The player is flexible, curious, and energetic. When you stop trying to be the expert and start simply being interested in the problem before you, you liberate a vast amount of mental energy that was previously tied up in anxiety. You begin to see your colleagues not as judges in a tribunal, but as fellow musicians. Some are playing the drums, some the strings. Some are playing loudly and out of key. We all know those types, but they are just playing. They are not gods. They are not seamless monoliths of competence. They are people carrying their own backs of anxieties, covering their own confusion with jargon, hoping you won't notice. When you see this, the pedestal collapses. You are no longer looking up at them from a pit of inadequacy. You are eye to eye. You are just another musician in the band. The universe is not a courtroom. It is not a classroom. It is as in floor. And you are here not to pass a test, but to participate in the motion. The anxiety you feel is simply the dizziness of trying to stand still while the world spins. The cure is not to stand firmer, the cure is to spin with. So, how shall we return to the marketplace? How shall we walk back into the office, studio, or the clinic with this new understanding? We shall not quit our jobs, the Zens in the meadows too. The thought is tempting. The hero must return to the village. We must return to the world of deadlines, expectations, and quarterly reviews, but we return with grit. We return knowing that while the game is being played, we are no longer trapped by it. The ultimate liberation from imposter syndrome comes when you realize a startling truth. You are an imposter. And so is everyone else. But not in the way you fear. You are an imposter in the sense that the you describe on your business card, the you in your LinkedIn bio, and the you the source of the aspects is a fabrication. It is a construct. It is a mask. The anxiety arose because you were trying to convince yourself that the mask was your face. You were trying to stuff the infinite, fluid complexity of your consciousness into a small, rigid box labeled senior manager. Of course it felt fake. The universe cannot fit in a box. When you accept that your professional identity is a garment you wear, not the skin of your soul, the sticks vanish. If the coat doesn't fit perfectly or if it has a tear, it is not a mortal wound. It is just a coat. This acceptance allows you to play the role with a kind of light-hearted mastery. Consider the greatest actors. They do not think they are Hamlet. If they thought they were truly Hamlet, they would be insane. They know they are playing. And because they know they are playing, they can perform with passion, precision, and freedom. They are not burdened by the reality of the role, only the art of it. Practical, this shifts your internal monologue from how am I being perceived to what is the game here. When you walk into a high-pressure presentation, instead of tightening up to protect your ego, you can visualize the room as a game board. The questions from the skeptics are not adds on your worth, they are obstacles in the level. The technical problems are not evidence of your incompetence, they are puzzles to be solved. You shift them a defensive posture trying not to be found out to a creative posture trying to solve the puzzle. This is the state of the Wu Wei, the Taoist principle of effortless action. It is not laziness, it is frictionless movement. The imposter is full of friction because they are resisting the reality of the moment, terrified of being seen. The player flows with the moment. If you make a mistake, you do not freeze. You say, that didn't work. Let's try this. By removing the heavy layer of self-judgment, you actually become more competent, not less. You free up the CPU cycles of your brain that were previously wasted on anxiety and redirect them toward the task at hand. Furthermore, this perspective allows you to wield the ultimate weapon against imposter syndrome. In the old worldview, vulnerability was a crack in the armor where the enemy could strike. In the musical worldview, vulnerability is a note of resonance. When you are willing to say, I am not sure about this, what you think, you are not exposing a witness, you are inviting others into the dance. You are signaling that you are secure enough to be uncertain. Paradoxically, this makes people trust you more, not less. They are tired of the mask too. When you drop yours, you give them permission to drop theirs. You become a leader not by pretending to be a god, but by being the most honest human in the room. You begin to see your career not as a ladder to be climbed, but as a medium for expression. Just as a painter uses pigment and canvas, you use code, or finance, or law, or teaching. The mediums ought to define you, it is simply the material you are dancing with today. If the painting is messy, it's just a messy painting. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you have more painting to do. Ultimately, the cure for the agony of the imposter is to realize that there is no destination to arrive at. You are not waiting to become valid. You are not waiting for permission to exist. The validity is in the access in itself. You are here. You are conscious. You are the universe experiencing itself through the specific lens of your profession for a brief, flickering moment. Why waste that moment trembling in fear that you untied it right? Theory is no right. Here is only the honest expression of what is. So, go back to your work. Put on the mask, but wear it loosely. Play the role, but wing at yourself in the mirror. Conduct the meeting, write the code, give the speech butts so it is ends. Swing with the rhythm of the challenges. If you stumble, make it part of the step. And if you ever feel that cold shadow of the imposter creeping back in, remember, the trees are not trying to be trees. The clouds are not trying to be clouds. They just are. And you, in your confusion, in your striving, in your imperfect, beautiful humanity, you just are, too. And that is, the next time you feel the tightening of your chest, the fear that you are merely pretending pose. Do not fight the feeling. Instead, ask yourself, who is the one that is afraid? Is it you? Or is it merely the character you have been trying so hard to keep alive? Drop the character. Breathe. And simply play the next note.